All right, welcome to episode 5 of Sports Circuit Podcast.
I am Miles, your favorite host.
And I'm Evan, your favorite tour host.
That's not even grammatically correct, but okay.
Doesn't matter. As always, we'll start with college football. Big last week. My Jayhawks beat BYU Cougars, and I could not be more proud and happier than I am right now. Even though we're 3, 4, and 6, I could not be happier than I am now that we beat BYU.
My question for y'all: where was this for like the first 2 months of the season? Where was this?
Where was this version of the Jayhawks for the first 2 months of the season? I don't know. But all of a sudden, we're beating Iowa State and BYU. We're knocking out teams from the college football playoffs. Like,
Colorado's next.
Colorado is next.
I actually looked into getting tickets for this game, but
But, it's in Kansas this week.
well, yeah, I looked at it like 2 months ago, but.
Okay, but there's a certain game I want to talk about.
First, I do want to mention the fact that I was in Chicago this weekend for the Ohio State game. Boy, do we know how to take over a stadium. Anyway, what game do you want to talk about?
Georgia, Tennessee.
I had a feeling.
This was the opposite of every Tennessee game we've had for the past 5 weeks. Their offense was great in the first half, terrible in the second half.
Yeah, and this was the opposite of what we've been talking about with Carson Beck for the last however many weeks. Like,
Did he throw a
Carson
pick?
didn't have a turnover. I think I saw on set that he had like multiple turnovers in his last like 7 games. Didn't turn it over once.
Against Tennessee.
Yes.
Yeah, after that game, Tennessee's ranked 10, Georgia's ranked 8. They're still both in the college football playoff race.
Yes.
I think right now it would be Texas and Bama in the SEC championship.
Texas and Texas A&M.
Is A&M really still that high in
Right.
conference play?
They only have one conference loss.
Oh yeah, and Alabama's too. I think
So,
which they would
but
be
that's
playing
gonna
literally
change.
the week after they already play.
That's what I was saying. That's probably gonna change. Because um is what was I saying? Yeah, because like that's gonna change. Texas A&M and Alabama don't play each other. Neither do Texas or Alabama. So I think whoever loses that game, rivalry week the 30th, is out of the SEC championship game. Could very well be out of the college football playoff too, but you never know.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great SEC championship like always, but I think at this point Texas, given the way that they've been playing, I think Texas is basically a lock for the SEC championship at this point.
Well, my issue with Texas is like you look at their resume, you look at who they played. The winning against Michigan doesn't look as good as it did. Winning against Oklahoma doesn't look as good as it did. The one game that they played against a team currently ranked at the top 25 was Georgia, a game in which they lost by 15 points at home. So, and then you have to go to Kyle Field. I think Texas A&M is actually going to win that game. Just because like Texas hasn't beat
Which
anyone,
which
and they
would
have
put
it
Georgia in the playoffs because they beat Texas.
on in the title
No, then it would
game.
be Ole
Yeah,
Miss. Because they
I don't
would
know.
if they both. We need to go more in depth in this, but
Yeah,
like
I'm not a math person, so that's not like something I can
I think
But
if Texas wins the SEC championship, then we can not talk bad about them this season. Winning the SEC
yes,
is one of the greatest honors in current day college football. So
yes,
they don't have a great resume right now, like you said. But if they win the SEC championship, all that talk goes away.
yes, but they have to do it.
Yeah, which isn't very likely.
Yes. So you had that. You had nothing really else this week.
Whoa, LSU
Freaking,
just had their 4th loss of the season.
I was about to mention that. Can I finish my sentence?
You said nothing else really happened this week. I assume that meant we were moving on.
LSU
LS who?
I was about to mention that. So
No,
Brian
yeah, well, I mentioned
Kelly,
it
I mean,
first.
Brian
This is why
Kelly's
I'm their favorite
job.
host.
I'll wait. I'll wait.
No, you can
I'll
talk.
wait.
You can talk. I'll let
There you
I'll
go.
let the second best host talk for a second.
I had to hit you with the I'll wait. That's crazy. But Brian Kelly won't be fired. A, because his buyout is up there with like Norvell as like some of the most in college football.
Yeah.
And you've got to see how this recruiting class does. Are they gonna keep Bryce Underwood? Is like that kind of stuff gonna happen? I think Brian Kelly has one more year in LSU. So far, God, why am I always frozen in the worst positions
Yeah.
possible? Um, you have one win against Alabama, which was your first year. Yeah, that was his first year with that Mason Taylor 2 point conversion. Just lost to Florida. Got your ass kicked at home by Alabama
Ass
just a week ago.
whipping.
The last 2 years, you have let Jalen Milroe absolutely run rampant on your defense. I think he has 8 rushing touchdowns in 2 years in LSU. So Brian Kelly has one more year because this was supposed to be the year that the defense takes that step forward after clearing house defensively on the coaching side. And this was supposed to be the year in which the defense went from abysmal to, I'm not going to say like best in the country, but like it took a noticeable step forward and it hasn't taken that. I think it's taken a step forward, but it's a very small step forward. So Brian Kelly's got to do something, or those people in Louisiana and Baton Rouge. I was going through LSU Instagram the other day after the game, and it's fire Brian Kelly, Garrett Nussmeyer can go to hell. All these kind of things Louisiana people say after losing, and so until the LSU fans totally turn on Brian Kelly, I think that's a year. Until they're like, okay, this guy came from Notre Dame, can't win a big game to save his life, and
Yeah, I mean,
and and
also,
and 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 and, and the other team in that situation, we're talking about LSU having lost. Billy Napier, a guy who I was very, very critical of because I think, Sunbelt Billy hasn't beaten LSU, hasn't beaten Florida State, hasn't beaten Georgia, hasn't beaten Kentucky, has one win against Tennessee, comes out here, probably beats Georgia with DJ Lagway playing. Florida's like, you know what? We're going to keep Billy Napier for another year. The next week follows it up with a third string quarterback with a 42-point loss in Austin. It's DJ Lagway back as they beat LSU. This Florida team, I think, is going to take a major step forward next year. So major props to Billy Napier and this team.
the fuck was that?
It was a cough. Jesus
It doesn't
Christ.
sound like a cough to me. Okay,
What did it sound like?
nothing.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, but what was I gonna say? So the thing with LSU, and the thing with really every team in the SEC this year is that you're playing in the SEC.
Yes.
The best teams are beating up on each other over and over again, and like I think you look at many SEC teams such as Georgia and Texas, and you say if they were in um, the
The
ACC or the
ACC.
Big 12, or you look at all that and you say they would not have one or two losses if they were in that conference. Like this isn't teams like LSU being bad. It's just they've been playing really good teams in the SEC.
I think LSU's bad, but carry on.
They're just not. I'm sorry we don't have
Well,
we're not all fans of great football teams like you are, Miles.
no, me being a fan of an 8-time national championship team who's consistently good. I know a good football team when I see one. LSU was not one of those
But you
teams
don't know a bad football
because
team when you see one.
I'm a okay. You know what? Because your argument here, right, is they've lost. They lost to USC, who is a terrible football team in week one, right? Not only did you lose at home to Alabama, can
Okay,
this put in top
that
of
face
that?
is insane.
Anyway, LSU got absolutely boat raced at home by Alabama.
Well, I'm not saying
Got
they would be an undefeated team. I'm just saying they wouldn't have four losses in a different conference.
But in all four of their losses, they've looked terrible. So I'm just like, this is not a good football. This is an average football team. Clearly, they would have at least one loss in the Big Ten. So
They
I
would,
mean,
but at the same time, like they wouldn't have four losses in a different conference.
if they were playing in the Big Ten, they would have probably played. They would already have one loss to USC, and they would either have to play Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State. That's another loss. So they're at least a two-loss team in the Big Ten, at least. So in the ACC, if you don't go undefeated in the ACC, there is something wrong with you.
Wait, but that supposed Penn State LSU game would be James Franklin in a big game.
It would be Brian Kelly in a big game.
What is James Franklin's record in big games? Wasn't what is he
Not
1-10
very good.
against Ohio State in the past 11 years or 12 years?
And that one didn't even happen. I still remember that game, blocked field goal, flukiest game of all time. But
Yeah, they were
you
unranked and they
know,
were 4-2 at the time.
don't have to remind me. Sitting on my couch watching that blocked field goal, but it's Brian Kelly and James Franklin in a big game. It's the same thing we were saying about Ryan Day a few weeks ago. Who can choke harder? It was clearly James Franklin. I think that game is fully dependent on location. If LSU goes into Happy Valley at night, Penn State wins. Penn State goes into Death Valley at night, LSU wins. Neutral site game, toss up.
Yeah, good point.
So because those two teams have the most hostile fan bases in the sport.
Okay, wait.
So
There's a question I want to get to that I asked you a couple weeks ago.
yep, go ahead.
So I was in class texting with you, and
When
we talked about in a previous podcast episode if Ohio State and Oregon played twice, how Ohio State would likely win. And I asked
yeah,
Miles, what if Ohio State won the conference championship, but then they would once again meet in the college football playoff? So what if this could be the first time apart from like
1870.
18 something where
So the first time when the forward pass had been invented.
and
So
so
let me look at exactly what I told you for that. But go ahead.
we've talked about how one of the hardest things to do in college football is beat a team twice, but never seriously has a team played another team three times, especially when they're two incredible teams like this. So what would happen if
Yeah,
Ohio State and Oregon played three times?
I think that's a dependent on the situation and everything else like that. I'm gonna talk about this in a second, but I just don't think that's gonna happen. But
There's a
if they
possibility.
were- if they were gonna play a third time, I can't even begin to make a prediction on that game because if Ohio State wins by 3 in the Big Ten championship, Oregon won by 1 in their place, Ohio State won by 3 on a neutral site game, closer to their place. So, Ohio State's proven that they can win on a neutral field, which that game would be on a neutral field. So, I have no idea. If you want to go on the only time these teams have ever played in the national championship game or in the college football playoff, 2015 national championship game, Ohio State won by 22. This was 10 years ago, but Oregon, Ohio State is one of those games that if they were to play a third time, I can't predict it. However, what I said to you a couple weeks ago is for viewership's sake and for money's sake, the College Football Playoff Committee will do everything in their power to prevent a third Ohio State Oregon matchup because people don't want to see the same matchup three times. Because like we've seen it twice. They're both good games. So they may try to put Oregon up against an old Pac-12 opponent, or uh, I think like they would try to go for like Oregon and Colorado in the playoff. They could, but I just don't think it would benefit them money wise if they had another Ohio State Oregon playoff game or this game. It would be the third in 3 months.
Yeah, like I think there either way there's a huge possibility because I mean, assuming both of these teams make the college football playoffs, which everyone thinks they will, like you can put these teams on opposite sides of the playoffs. You could argue that those are the two best teams in the country, and like they could both possibly go all the way to the national championship and meet each other for a third time. Either way.
And no, of course that's a possibility, of course, but I just don't see that happening. Because as you said, I think they're gonna put them on different sides of the playoff bracket, and one of them of course could lose, or both of them could of course lose, and it's just so many possibilities. So I think it's a toss up of whether they play again or not. And if they do play again, I'm not gonna be able to predict that game until probably the day.
Good. Yeah, I agree. Okay, wait. So what about okay, overrated, underrated teams of the week?
I'm gonna steal your overrated team here because Washington State they lost, so I'm stealing your
And they
overrated
are
team.
still in that top 25. How?
Not from well, they won't be in the top 25 tomorrow. They won't. And an underrated team.
New Mexico put up 38 on them and they're in the top 25.
Listen, I don't make the rules.
That is the most fraudulent team in
If
college football.
if, if I made the rules, if New Mexico ever scored 38 on you, I would have your coach publicly executed. So that's just my thing. Underrated team. This is tough. This is tough.
Very.
This is tough. This is tough. I think I. It's tough.
Okay, I got chat. I think it's tough.
I'm actually gonna go take a peek at the rankings here. Um,
Well, yes, I always have the rankings up during episodes. My overrated, I mean, of course I would say Washington State. But
underrated team is still Ole Miss because they beat. Whoa, wait! I'm about to go on a rant. Oh my God, I'm going on a rant.
let's hear
I'm
it.
going on a rant.
How Ole Miss is below
Georgia
Georgia.
and Ole Miss have the same records, and Ole Miss bodied them on national television. Why are they behind them?
I agree.
I thought we valued head to head.
They
But
clearly
clearly
do. They
not.
have Alabama above Georgia.
But they don't have.
Yeah, I don't
I don't.
know what was this ranking this past week. Ole Miss should be ahead of Georgia whether you like it or not.
Because same record in head to head. That is the yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but go ahead.
No,
You're
if
overrated.
you want to continue, you can.
That was my rant.
Your rant was like 30 seconds. Okay. That is the worst pace, Miles. I'll just wait. I'll wait until that face is dealt with. Okay. My overrated team of the week, of course, would be Washington State.
Yeah.
But I mean, you stole that from me. Let me see.
I hear.
Let me see this team's record. Hold up. My overrated. Oh, this is difficult. I'm not saying this team's a bad team. I'm not saying they shouldn't be ranked, but South Carolina, I think they've had some great wins and some great losses. Miles, you gotta check your Wi-Fi, buddy.
And you gotta check your ball knowledge here because that is not a very good
No, here's what I was saying.
Anyway,
They're not a. I'm not saying that they're not a great team. They're an amazing team. But like instead of being top 20, maybe you put instead of being 19, maybe you put them at like 22 or 23.
okay, I
Um,
take back my statement.
underrated team of the week. Okay, you're gonna flame me for this in a second. Of course I would have said Ole Miss, but how about those Jayhawks? I look on ESPN Pick'em. 7% of people picked Kansas to win, and they won. And not many people are talking about it. So my underrated team of the week is the Kansas Jayhawks.
I think the only reason for that is that you're 3-6, but I do agree. A little underrated. People should be talking about it more. I think
Four
people
and
are more
six
talking
actually.
about the fact that same thing.
Oh, it
Citrus
is not.
Bowl, Outback Bowl, same thing. I think people are more talking about the fact that BYU is overrated in the fact, of anything else, right?
You're saying more people are talking about how BYU lost instead of how Kansas won. Well, I'm
Yeah.
talking about how Kansas won. Kansas won a football game against a good team. They are the underrated
First
team of the
time you.
week.
There you go. Um, let's talk college basketball.
Yes, sir. That's the only time you'll ever get called sir.
I think college served by many people actually.
Why about that elderly lady like 10 years ago?
It was an elderly lady 2 years ago. It's the same thing.
Okay, college
But
basketball.
so so I don't want to talk about what happened on Friday night.
So let's not.
3-point shooting. Where the hell was it? Where was it?
Okay, nowhere. Non-existent.
God, thank you. It was non-existent. I mean,
It was a game against
40.
Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean the officiating was horrible. 43 throws is diabolical.
40?
They shot 40 free throws.
And I was frustrated when UNC shot 34.
Yeah, SEC bullshit. Anyway,
Okay, but Texas A&M is still a good basketball team. Yes.
I don't want to fucking talk about it.
Okay. But let's talk about how number 2 Alabama lost to what is now or how
Purdue.
now what now is number 8 Alabama lost to number 6 Purdue.
Yes.
I think we were all, I mean, we still are. But I was I was confident in Ohio State being undefeated going into conference play.
That's your loss.
Don't even, Miles.
Your loss. I had no confidence in this team whatsoever.
I had confidence in this team. I mean, Mark Sears is that guy still.
Oh, you said Ohio State. You said Ohio State. You said Ohio State.
Oh, I was talking about Alabama.
Yeah, well, you had to like that. That's why I said your loss.
Okay, Alabama. I was very confident. Even though they have some tough matchups coming up, even after this Purdue game, they have Illinois, they have Houston, Rutgers, Notre Dame, UNC, Creighton. I was confident that they could win every single one of those because of how good and how I still think they're this good. I still think they're a great team. But Purdue has just played better. They're also a really good team. But now looking back on Alabama's previous games, they had some close calls against some teams that they should have blown out by 30. McNeese State. Alabama won, but it was 72-64. They were at home. Arkansas State, it was 88-79. Those were close calls, but I was still confident in this team until I wake up the next morning seeing how Purdue upset Bama. I'm still confident in this team. I'm still high on this team. It was just a bad loss.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's one of those teams that like once you get them, like if their offense goes cold, uh oh,
Yeah,
because I think teams are going to be able to score on Alabama. But the thing with Alabama is
they can
they
out
can
offense their opponent.
they're just going to outscore you. Like You score 85 points against Alabama. There's a very good chance that you lose that game by 20
Miles, we
points.
learned that that strategy doesn't work with the 2022 Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, just hey,
It doesn't work like that. You need to have
Hey,
some
by the
defense.
way, Danilo Gallinari scored 20 points and the Hawks scored 110 points. We lost by 20. That was such a frustrating season.
I know.
But yeah, Alabama. I think a magic number playing Alabama is legitimately 100. Is 100. Like if you can score 100 against Alabama, they're in good shape. But like the fact that you have to score 100 and you feel safe,
That says a lot about both teams, depending on who they're playing.
yeah,
I do have some different opinions about some games now after they lost this Purdue game.
yeah.
I think they're going to beat Illinois. I think they're going to beat Houston. I think they're going to beat Rutgers. And I think they're going to beat Notre Dame. They will not beat UNC on the road.
No, it's tough to do that anyway. So I don't think so.
And college sports is a
Leaving
lot about which team is at home.
leaving out of conference play with a loss at Purdue and at North Carolina, yeah, it sucks. But like you got a couple quality wins in there and two losses at
More than a
two
couple.
very, very incredibly tough atmospheres. Like, okay, right?
Like, yeah, like, I mean, if you can get a win over Houston, then you can talk all the crap that you want.
Yes, yeah.
There's another team that I want to talk about and a certain person I want to talk about.
Okay. I also want to mention a game, but
You talk first.
Wisconsin, Alabama. Or Wisconsin, Arizona.
Oh, yeah, that was. Oh, damn. That was on the same night
Yeah,
as Alabama Purdue, also.
yeah. What a win for Wisconsin. They're legit. They're legit.
What are they now, like number 19 or so in the country?
Yeah, you just dropped 100 on the top 10 team and you won.
Let's be real. Arizona's a really good team, but we both said that they were fraudulent top tens.
Yeah, but still, that's a pretty big
And it's
win
a
for
really
Wisconsin.
good win regardless.
But I don't think it's the win that people are chopping it up to be. People are like, oh, that could be best win in the country. Slow your roll, all right? Slow your roll. It's a great win for that program, right? Puts them on the map, but it's not the best win in the country, right? I can think of two games off the top of my head that are automatically better than that. Three wins.
Which
Kentucky,
ones?
Kentucky over Duke,
We need to
Kansas over
talk about that too.
Carolina, Kentucky over Duke, Carolina, Kansas, and then it was another one I was just thinking of, but
Was it Purdue, Alabama?
Purdue, Alabama. Yeah, so there are three wins off the top of my head that are like better than that one. So I'm not like saying, oh, that's a terrible win. Wisconsin should be right. No, but it's just not as good as some of the top tier teams have already gotten this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I find it. I'm not saying that Wisconsin's not. Again, I'm not saying that Wisconsin's not a good team, but it's hard to look at one win and say that the team's legit because we've seen very lopsided upsets to teams that weren't legit. So I think Wisconsin's a really good team, but they still have a little bit to prove to put them up
Yeah,
there with everyone else.
yeah. Like I think right now the tournament started 4 seed, right? And I think they could make some noise in the tournament, but like so Wisconsin for the rest of our conference, they beat Arizona 103-88. They're actually losing in the first half, about to be halftime to UT Rio Grande. It's 52-48 with 25 seconds to go in the first half.
That's a defense problem.
Maybe we can slow our roll a little bit.
So a rule about
and
how
then they
Wisconsin's a
play
legit team.
Yeah, and then they play UCF and Chicago State, and that ends November. Then they go into December, right? Their first conference game is against Michigan at home on the third. Then they play back to back at Marquette and at Illinois before going at Butler.
That's at least two losses right there.
Yes. So between December 7th and December 14th, they play at Marquette, at Illinois, at Butler.
Yeah, that's two losses at least, maybe even three.
Yeah. And then their last game of the calendar year is 3 days before Christmas, Detroit Mercy. And then Iowa and at Rutgers. So like
They have a few tough games in there, but they should make some noise
they
this
have a
year.
few tough games. I think the one that I'm really looking for is that Marquette game. If you can go into Marquette and win, then I would put the legit tag on them.
I,
But you can't follow up. I mean, this is classic college sports, right? You
yes,
get a big
upset.
win
Yeah.
like Arizona, who have a cupcake and you're sleepwalking in the first half. Are they going to win by 20? Yes, but
It says a lot about a team if you can't get it done in the first half against a bad team.
against UT Rio Grande, which may not even be a real college. So
Okay, there's actually two games I want to talk about. First, let's just talk about,
yeah,
let's get it out of the way. Kentucky, Duke.
what a big win. Duke, or sorry, Kentucky was my preseason SEC champion. Or no, Mark Pope was my preseason coach of the year. That that's what it was.
That yeah.
Mark Pope was Mark Pope was my preseason coach of the year. I mean, what a win, right? Coach Cal leaves, he stays in conference, and
You get a win like that.
you get a win like that, second or third game of the season.
Do you think
That
people
sets
are Go ahead.
that sets the tone with the fan base, especially like Kentucky that expects so much, right?
Yes.
If getting a win like that early in your career, when you play Duke, you just beat them. For the rest of November, they play Lipscomb, Jackson State, Western Kentucky, Georgia State. Then at Clemson, and then another prove it game at Gonzaga. So,
Yeah, I mean,
like,
do you think people are overreacting about Cooper Flagg's late turnovers?
he's what, 18 years old, and he
17.
scored what? And he's God, I'm older than him.
Yeah,
Gosh,
guys, we need to stop
God,
overreacting. Cooper Flag is 17 years old
yeah.
playing for Duke. He is inevitably going to make mistakes.
It was his third collegiate game.
And he
Chill
played
out.
Kentucky
Like,
on a neutral
like
site.
I'm a D1 Duke hater. Chill out. Chill out. Chill out, people. He's still a hell of a player. If if that sequence was to happen again in February, he's not making those mistakes.
Right, you can't do that later in the year, but this is his, like you said, this is his
Yeah.
third game.
His third game, he's gonna settle in. Don't worry. Duke is gonna be fine. Cooper Flag is gonna be gone. No, sorry, they're gonna be fine. Cooper Flag's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine, Duke fans, all right?
Yes, a Kentucky loss is not a bad loss.
No, on a neutral floor.
In the ATL, your boy was
ATL,
there.
ho. ATL, ho. ATL, ho.
Okay,
Anyway,
but like I said, there is not specific. Or actually, let me talk about the game first. Kansas, Michigan State, very frustrating game if you're a Kansas fan. Very frustrating offense. You have 8 points in the first 12 minutes, all late coming from Hunter Dickinson, who this game made me kind of nervous. Not because of the specific game, but because of how KU's offense looked without Hunter. He is a fifth-year senior. He's gone next year 100%. If we lose Hunter Dickinson and all of a sudden our offense looks horrible next year, we all know why. Because he's not there.
yes. Like, of course, some other guys got hot at the end of the game. That's going to happen, right? But 8 points in 12 minutes,
By the number one team in the country.
yes. It got you through a game, but if you do that in the NCAA tournament, your season may very well be over.
Don't even talk about the NCAA tournament. Talk about if you do this against Duke in a couple weeks, you will lose that game.
Yes, because you will have 8, they will have 25, and Cooper Flag will have more points than your entire team. And
Yes.
then you're down 17 in the first half, and, you know, all hell is going to break loose. So if you can get a couple guys going early, you're of course going to have a shot. But it can't just be Dickinson, right?
Right. You need to. I mean, ever since then, ever since that first half, our offense has looked pretty great. But we can't have another half like that. Never
No.
again. Not this year, at least. Okay, but now talk about the man, Bill Self, is now the winningest coach in Kansas basketball history.
Which speaks volumes because, like, the man who literally invented the sport of basketball also coached at Kansas.
Yeah, like
Well,
Kansas. I think
well,
Kansas has had a single digit number of coaches there. Coached there for a long time. Bill Self has been here since 2003. Um,
oh, so,
but
oh, so, so Kansas is like the Pittsburgh Steelers of college basketball. The Steelers have had 3 coaches in 55 years, so it's the same thing.
it's the exact same thing actually. Okay,
So,
but just like to give our congratulations to Bill Self.
yes. And a little tangent here for a second on name it. Losing his coach in Kansas basketball history. Isn't that unbelievable? Has the most losses by a head coach in the history of Kansas basketball.
We're talking about Bill Self still.
No,
James
inventor of basketball.
James Naismith, yes.
Yeah,
And I
which
want
is
to
unbelievable, unbelievable. But
I want to talk about something that is not necessarily related to Kansas, not necessarily related to any team, but is just related to college sports, college basketball. We need to talk about how much more home court advantage means in college basketball and college sports compared to professional because Kansas, I think, let me look it up. Bill Self, in his entire, what is this now, 21, this is his 22nd year coaching at Kansas. Give me a second. And he's now in his 22nd season. He has 16 total losses at home.
that's crazy.
16
That is
losses
crazy.
in Allen Fieldhouse in his entire career.
That's insane.
So
That is
college home court in college basketball and in college football means so much more than anything else because the fans are just better in college sports than they are at, for an example, an NBA game. You're not going to have much noise
yeah.
at an NBA game compared to a college game. Fans at
Like
Allen
yeah.
Fieldhouse will like scream and yell for a layup or a free throw. You don't get that for a deep
While
three in the NBA.
while the NBA fans are defense, like it's just like not the same. Not the same.
College basketball, college sports atmospheres are just magical in that way.
Yes.
Speaking of someone who's been to Allen Fieldhouse to a home game there, it's insane. And I don't know how those fans go out there and do it almost every week. I don't know how they do
And
it.
it's sort of like a different thing with Ohio State. But someone who's been to the shoot 3 times, the fact that it's consistently filled to 105,000 people every single week is again unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
You're not seeing that in the NFL or the NBA or anything.
We go to
A place
Hawks games
filled
and it looks empty in there.
exactly because it is empty. Falcons games are the same thing. So yeah. So is that everything you wanted to touch on for college basketball? Because I have a few things I want to touch on before we get to the NBA.
Um, I think that's it for me.
All right. First of all, out of baseball, we have our rookie of the years. Paul
Skeens.
Skeens from my Pittsburgh Pirates.
Point to your shirt.
National League. Let's see it. Let's go Bucks, baby. Paul Skeens and all those Padres fans who thought Jackson Merrill was going to win. You
How did
can.
Fred VanVleet block Giannis on a layup?
It's Doc Rivers. He probably had something to do with it.
Yeah, he had some game plan that caused that.
He had something to do with it.
How does Brook Lopez have 16 points in the first half? My bad, you can keep talking.
And then from the New York Yankees, Luis Heel from the Yankees, he won for the American League. Jackson Merrill. Any other year, Jackson Merrill went to the National League, but not this year. A pitcher going basically the entire year having a sub-2 ERA is unbelievable as a rookie. All right. Now I'm going to touch on Sunday, Atlanta United, win or go home. If we win, we go on to the Eastern Conference Finals. This magical, unexpected Cinderella run continues. Need to beat Orlando. Last thing I want to talk about. Wear red, show up, rowdy and proud. Last thing I want to talk about. And I'm gonna take a minute on this one. I in our last episode, which unfortunately got had some audio issues, since that one is not going to be going up. Talked about this week's Pittsburgh Steelers Baltimore Ravens game, and I said that whoever wins this game is going to win the AFC North. Whoever wins this game is going to be considered elite Super Bowl contenders, and for the 8th time in 9 games, we won. We beat the Ravens. We kicked off field goals. The most Pittsburgh Steelers win I can think of. The most Mike Tomlin, the most Steelers win I've ever seen. But this team needs to learn that not every game needs to give me multiple brain aneurysms. I do not need that for myself. I do not need to be yelling at my team.
We can say that about all
game.
Sports teams, can we?
I mean, we can, right? Like, I should not be complaining multiple times about abysmal red zone play calling. That's the only thing I'm going to complain about, abysmal red zone play calling. Anyway, that's enough of that. Ravens suck. We're 8-2, top of the AFC North. Let's go to the NBA and the Hawks. Because it's been a weird last couple of weeks for the Hawks.
I know. How does this happen consistently?
So, let's paint a picture here. Go into Boston without Trae Young. Dyson Daniels scores 28 points. Jalen Johnson has a triple-double. Onyeka Okongwu has 15 points in the game-winning putback. You beat Boston. You follow that up with a win against the Washington blowout win over the Washington Wizards. You're 2-0 in group play in the NBA Cup. How do you think we follow it up in Portland?
Let me tell you how. We lost and had maybe the worst fourth quarter of our entire lives. Let me tell you a stat that I told Miles last night. Here's a stat that I told Miles last night. The Atlanta Hawks this season are 0-3 when Trae Young trots up the court with under 15 seconds left in clutch time. He is consistently why are we okay? There was 9.9 seconds left and we were down 2. Trae Young gets the ball about 10 feet past half court and he just trots down the court like it's a regular play. Meanwhile, valuable time is ticking off the clock. He gets up the court about 2 seconds left and he throws the ball to the Blazers.
And we lose. So, in the most typical Hawks fashion, we lose all momentum. But however, I'm the optimist. For the first time this season, we're going to be rolling out a 10-man rotation. Unfortunately, we do have to watch DeAndre Hunter play basketball.
He is not as bad as you think he is.
Oh my God! So why does he never play? Why does he never play?
Can I tell you something, Miles?
Bro's made of glass, and he airballs half the threes he takes.
Can I tell you something? First of all,
yeah.
Bogey has consistently been out for the first 2 months this season, the past 4 years. Second of all, I know Zachary Ricochet is a rookie, but I think any idiot we can tell that he is taking some bad shots out there. And I think you look at this. If DeAndre Hunter took a shot like Zachary Ricochet did, he would get crucified by you.
He would. I no. Do you want to talk? Do you want to talk about a crucifixion? I wouldn't crucify him on here. I would actually crucify him.
Exactly,
Like
that's what I'm saying.
go and crucify him because
Okay,
he
look at
doesn't play.
if DeAndre Hunter takes this.
He doesn't play, and he's a mediocre offensive player and an above-average defender.
That's exactly what we need on this team. We need above-average defenders. Let me tell you something. If Zachary Ricochet takes a step back contested three, you buy more jerseys of his, and you call him Pookie. Yet if DeAndre Hunter does that, he's going to get publicly crucified in downtown Atlanta the next day.
Has DeAndre Hunter ever scored 33 points as a rookie against the Knicks? No.
Has DeAndre Hunter been to the conference finals? Yes. Was DeAndre Hunter a key piece to that team? Yes, he was.
Whoa. He missed the entire playoffs outside of the Knicks series.
Was I talking specifically about the playoffs? He was a key piece to that Atlanta Hawks team. The Hawks don't have the same defense that they... Miles, you're made of glass.
Bro was made of glass.
I'd love to see you try to survive NBA physicality.
At least it wasn't a fat joke.
Trust me, we have some of those coming. Yeah.
Anyway, my greatness isn't appreciated by all. I get it.
Can I go out and publicly say something?
Depends.
If the Atlanta Hawks go 2-0 against the Cleveland Cavaliers next week, oh my God.
Okay, fine. You know what? I'll make a bet with you.
Okay.
If we go 2-0 against the Cavs next week and their undefeated season. Actually, you know what? We don't even have to do that because I think Boston's going to do it. But it'll be an added bonus if we do. And DeAndre Hunter scores 30 points in at least one of those two games.
This is too much conditioning. If the Atlanta Hawks go 2-0 against
I will buy a DeAndre Hunter jersey. Hunter actually has to play and score. Okay?
I'm going to go out and say it right now that the Atlanta Hawks will not beat the Cleveland Cavaliers next week. They will especially not go 2-0. But if the Atlanta Hawks go 2-0 against the Cavs next week, what should I do?
If the Hawks go 2-0 against the Cavs next week, you're not allowed to body shame me for a week. No, make that a month. No, Make that a month. You can't body shame me for a month.
If the Atlanta Hawks go 2-0 against the we've been on this for too long at this point. But if the Atlanta Hawks go out there and go 2-0 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, I will buy any sports jersey, custom made or not, of Miles' choice.
Okay, fine. Yes, I agree.
And I have to wear it on the next podcast episode after those games.
Fine. Yep. Shake on it. Yep. Okay. I'll start creating ideas because, and the most Atlanta Hawks thing in the world, we'll do that. And then we'll play Charlotte the next game.
And we'll lose by 10.
And then Trey Mann will score 45 points and have a triple.
Remember when Malachi Flynn scored 50 against us?
What?
I was at that game, and I was the most frustrated human being you could possibly know.
Which game?
The Pistons game last year when Malachi Flynn scored 50 on us.
Malachi?
That's literally...
Malachi.
Malachi Flynn is my nickname for him. You know why?
Why?
Wait, what was his stat line? How many rebounds, assists did he have?
And by the way, we won that game.
Okay, but we cannot allow...
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you something, Miles. I was more
Yeah.
frustrated at that game than I was when Kansas lost to Kansas State in football this year.
Oh, that was pretty frustrating.
I'm telling you, that Kansas State game, I shed a few tears, as one would. Okay, wait, I want to touch on one thing with the NBA.
Yeah,
We need to talk about Joel Embiid.
we do. Um,
This man does not play basketball, and what does the NBA do? They sit him out 3 games and make him not play basketball.
Joel, you punched a reporter. Guess what? You got to play a back to back.
Oh, damn. You know he's been cleared to play
That
tonight?
Oh, bro coughed like 8 hours ago, so therefore he's going to be missing the next 2 weeks.
No, me and Miles were talking earlier today. I made a joke saying, "Breaking news: Joel Embiid gets his feelings hurt, and and he's out for the next year and a half."
Well, then I said, isn't that normally a 18 to 24 month injury? I was wrong about that. That doesn't mean your self esteem gets hit. That's an 18 to 24 month injury. Getting your feelings hurt is a year.
Yeah, for a guy like Joel Embiid, getting his feelings hurt could be up to 3 or 4 years. We don't know about that yet.
And Joel Embiid getting his feelings hurt isn't when Nick Nurse says, "Hey, Joel, you got to go play.
Hey Joel, could you
Can you do your job?"
can you play a few games for us? I'm just asking.
Ask me for a
Can I
friend.
go out and publicly do one more thing?
Sorry.
If Joel Embiid, I don't know if he even can do this anymore, but if Joel Embiid hits that 65 game mark this year for awards, then I'll publicly go out and say that I need to say something diabolical, like post something on Instagram or something.
You must. Okay. I got something for you. Once, if Joel Embiid reaches the 65 game mark for awards and he wins at least one award, you must post pro Kansas State content on your Instagram for a week.
Does awards are we
What
do like all
one?
NBA teams matter?
No. So it was MVP, Most Improved Player, Comeback Player of the Year,
He is not
those
winning
kind of
most
awards.
improved player, and we all know.
Listen, listen. I was just defensive player of the year, those kind of awards. I was just naming awards. You must post one positive Kansas State post a day on your story for a week. All right.
Okay. I mean, he's not
And
gonna
you know
do it,
what?
so
Yeah, exactly. Because I was about to add to that. If he does that, I have to post one positive Michigan thing a day to my story.
oof,
So
damn.
if Joel Embiid is going to do that, we both have to suffer.
Okay, let's
Fair?
get
I
it.
mean,
And this is not gonna be a fun. That's not gonna be a fun week.
you want to win a Sixers in time? Do you want to go ahead and like take out his knees?
We'll do.
Just like take care
I
of
mean,
it.
he's not reaching that 65 game mark. He's played what now? Two of how many games?
I think it's been about what 15 so far, 10,
10,
15.
somewhere between 13 and 15 games.
Has he played 65 games in the last like 2 years combined?
No, he has. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Last year, last year and this year combined, I don't think he's reached 65 games.
Oh yeah, because he was actually injured last year though.
Yeah, but still,
This year
still.
he's not. He's just choosing not to play.
Is it? Yeah. Anything else? Jock Rivers and Darvin Ham. I think those guys both need to be fired, and also whoever's idea that was also needs to be fired.
Yeah, who had the idea of hiring not only Doc
Yeah.
Rivers, but Darvin Ham?
And the worst thing is, Adrian Griffin. They were the 1 seed when they had Adrian Griffin, and they just fired him.
I know there was controversy, but like, huh?
But like at some point, like yeah, there's bad locker room chemistry, but I think being the one seed can overcome that. And since when has Doc Rivers helped locker room chemistry?
Yeah, that's first of all. Second of all, when has I mean, we were talking about how the 2008 Celtics might be the greatest team ever because they won Doc Rivers a championship, and that is something that you never see, and you will never see ever
Yeah,
again.
yeah. And there was a video of something going on in the Bucks locker room after another loss. And do you know what Darvin Ham is doing?
What's he
He's
doing?
standing there with his hand in his pocket.
That's the most
Like
Darvin
bro's
Ham
always
thing to
bro,
do.
bro always has his hand in his pocket, and he's like,
Here,
huh.
let me display. So let's say that
Hey Evan, there's 3 seconds left in the game 7 of the NBA
there's 3 seconds
Finals.
left in
You're
Game
down
Seven of
by
the NBA Finals.
two.
Giannis is about to fight someone on the court. Darvin Ham is standing there like
I wonder
with his potato-looking
what is
ass.
Cassandra what is Cassandra making for dinner tonight? Huh? Did I
Wait,
close
are
the
I
garage?
mean, I'm gonna say the Bucks are winning by 12 right now to the Rockets.
Okay, but that is a very blowable lead by Doc Rivers.
Yes.
It's a very blowable lead.
Now that I think about it, beating the Sixers in 2021 was honestly not that big of an accomplishment because it was Doc Rivers. I mean,
And it was Ben Simmons passing the ball. And by the way,
Trae Young's paint defense just scared Ben Simmons out of his professional sport.
yes.
Be scared of that Trae Young paint
Um,
defense, everyone. It'll make you quit basketball.
we have ourselves an upset alert here. UT Rio Grande leads 61 to 54 with 15 minutes to play in Madison.
Wisconsin, okay. Again, like we said earlier, Wisconsin still has a lot to prove even though they beat Arizona.
Yes. And this isn't helping prove anything. This is
Not at
not helping
all.
anyone.
I mean, it's proving a lot, but in the wrong way.
Yeah. It 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 isn't gonna help people's perception on them. It isn't gonna help two teenagers on a podcast.
No.
No.
I think that's it for today. We're
That's
thinking about
that's all
doing a
right.
regular episode next week and maybe a Thanksgiving special. Um,
Yes, and
yeah, we'll talk about
yes,
it.
we'll talk about that. All right. Thank you all for listening. I am your older, but in terms of maturity, probably second on that totem pole host.
Okay, we
Evan,
can end this
Evan,
episode now. All right. Thank you for listening,
yeah.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye, y'all.